Hi everyone, welcome to ELI, the place where you get your daily dose of inspiration for entrepreneurship. And today we have with us Mr. Rutviz Arupam Raut, co-founder of Showman Media, which has been acquired by Instamojo. Rutviz is a graduate of SRM University and has been an entrepreneur since 2019. Hey Rutviz, welcome to ELI.
Hi, Priya. Great to be here.
I would request you to introduce yourself to our audience, please.
Okay. So, hey guys, I'm Rutviz. So as I think Priya already mentioned, I used to run a startup named the Showman. To give you a glimpse, Showman was India's first virtual movie theater. We were set out to solve a problem to reach out to audiences in terms of reaching out to their expenses and comfort of home and watching a lot of movies because India is in a land of movie makers. We are huge movie producers and we love watching a lot of movies. We think it's out of culture and prospects to talk about to your friends and family. So I think we were set out to do something great, and that's what we did. So yeah, apart from that, personally about me, yeah, as you know, I'm an entrepreneur. Apart from that, I love building consumer tech products. It's something I'm fascinated about, especially consumer tech products for India, because again, India is a gold mine of a market that I feel is not understood by a lot of people across the globe, and we as Indians are bound to make some great impact. Apart from that, I'm an avid traveler. I love traveling. I've been to 17 countries before, and I love. I'm a polo player too. Because I think I've had a lot of exposure in terms just because my father works for the Indian Army. So yeah, that's about me, and I think we'll catch up more when we get to the process. Thank you for that, Priya. Over to you.
Would like to start with Showman. Tell us about it. What is the product or what is the service value that you provide to the uh, consumers?
Okay, great. So I will start from the very start because I think the journey how we started is very important, and I think that's
Absolutely.
that's the story
Sure.
that I would like to share with all of you today. When we started Showman, so originally idea what we were building is we realized, me and my co-founder, we realized that there was a huge disparity. Both of us liked watching movies, and both of us lived in different parts of area. Like me traveling around India so much, and my co-founder used to live for the early stages of his life in Indonesia, right? His father used to work in Indonesia. So we realized a huge problem that in India also, a lot of movies that were produced in India in so many languages. To give you a stats, I think India produces around 2,200 movies in a year across
Okay.
all languages. Now that's huge. Like that's bigger than Hollywood into four times. That's the scale that we make movies and be such a huge culture of watching and producing movies. We realized that when we're talking at one of the days when we're just chilling out and talking about how we like movies and what to watch and where to watch them, we realized that we don't have access to a lot of movies when we live outside India. And there
Mm.
is a huge diaspora audiences who live outside India. To give you a number, there are 30 million people, 30 million Indians who live outside India, and they don't get access to watch movies in India, of Indian made movies, because again, if you notice, all these platforms, all these streaming platforms in general focus on going creating a geo block and going locally to the places, and that's great because that's what they want to capture. Like if Netflix comes to India, they would want to have more Indian content rather than content which is outside, right? But
Mm.
who addresses to the crowd that who live outside India, that they don't get the content, and that's the problem we're trying to solve. We were trying to build an OTT platform originally which was helping diaspora audience connect to their culture and their home via movies, because we believe in India, when you go, if you notice, anybody who lives outside their joint family or their cousins and stays far from them, whenever you go back home, if
Mm.
you live in a different country, they talk about what kind of movies did you watch, what kind of shows did you watch, and they talk about pop culture, which the problem living outside is you miss out and you feel detached and you cannot now connect to the dots. So that's something a huge amount of people don't understand and don't relate to, and we were trying to set out those solve problems. So what we were doing originally, OTT was an OTT platform where we were getting movies and showing it outside India, not on India at all. Like we were showing the movies outside India across the globe. Also, we were trying to bring new release movies, show first day, first show outside India, because again, and the metrics of outside India, there's theaters in US, like US and Middle East are the probably two places where a lot of Indians watch movies, right? Because a lot of
Mm.
Indians fan culture movies exist. Even here, out of the 2,000 movies that India produces, only 20 movies released in an entire year, which is so less, which is like probably 1% of the movies are released outside, and it's expensive. So we wanted to help these people reach to their country and watch the content that's produced in the country easily and affordability. And that's the reason why we were moving outside India. But I think when pandemic hit, we saw a great opportunity to do it inside India also, because we had the infrastructure already built out. And thanks to pandemic, I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm not being grateful for pandemic. Do not get me wrong, but because of pandemic, an opportunity arise that movie theaters were closed now. So where do these movie producers go to watch, show their movies? Yes, we did
Mm,
hear a lot of Netflix and Amazon Prime and Hotstar buying a lot of movies. But when we did talk to a lot of producers, because we were in connect with them, we realized they had to forcefully sell their movies because they had no other options, because they were in a situation of limbo where they didn't understand what was going to happen next, and they had to forcefully share their movies, sell their movies at a very like low budget cost, or probably like only making like a 5-10% profit, which is very low for a movie industry, because in theaters they make like probably 30 to 50% of their original cost, because the movie being hit or great, right? So
mm,
now the chance of option was run away from them, and that's exactly where Showman pitched in. Showman was in, we try to build India's first virtual movie theater, where we brought the entire understanding of ticketing, not subscription, ticketing, like buying a ticket on movie and getting it on your platform to watch it at the comfort of your home. Now, people living in these cities, you might not be very keen on understanding of why would I want to watch movies at home, because you have so much access to Netflix. But our target was not the tier 1 cities in general. Our target was the next billion user segment of India, that is tier 3, tier 4, and villages. Now, why? I would say because number one, this entire new agenda segment of people are very new to internet. They have just discovered internet very recently, and they're fascinated by it. They're so amazed that they have so much option now to consume content, get information, and all that factor. Number two, these people have a lot of time. You see, people who have time would want to watch more movies than people who do not have time, right? So, and the third, because this segment of market was not touched by Netflix, Prime, as well as Hotstar, just for the reason of subscription. Now, because these people didn't understand subscription in general, or didn't have the financial capacity to pay for subscription, like their problem, people who stay here might not even have a debit card properly or a credit card to pay for subscription, and that's the bigger problem, because for subscription, a card has to enable your monthly payment schedule, which a lot of cards don't. And for rural India, it's even more worse. So we understood that that was a problem, and because we are Indians ourselves, we understood people in these areas know how to pay for movie tickets. The user segmentation knows how to buy a ticket and get pay, go for the theater, give the ticket, and watch the movie. We just brought this entire concept of offline payment to online and brought the entire ecosystem really knit, where you could buy a ticket on Paytm, because we collaborate with Paytm. Paytm has reach all across these platforms in villages. People use Paytm. So instead of doing it everything ourselves, we also to collaborate with Paytm, collaborate with Book My Show to figure out how we can capture this place and get the word out. And that was, I think, a very good metric for us to understand and to reach out this audience, because now we were able to target them. We were able to get payments from them, and they were able to watch movies on their phone, on their screens, anywhere they can. So yeah, phone is being number one aspect, because they don't have laptops or computers, they have phones, and these devices were intuitive in terms of understanding. And we kept the price really really low, because we understood affordability is the key metric in this segment of area. So that's the story about Showman, and that's the problem we're trying to solve. That there are a lot of movie. One of the also problem that it's not talked about in India is the difference between the movie theater screens and movie. So India, being the largest amount of producers of movie, also has the lowest amount of screen to people ratio. So number of screen that exists in India are not sufficient for people who want to watch the movie. So we have to wait sometimes days to get a movie and travel to different cities or different places to watch a movie that we really want. And
mm.
fandom in India is huge. And that's the problem we're trying to solve, to connect movie lovers to their movies at the comfort of their home easily and staying safe, because at pandemic, staying safe was always important. And it's still going on. So I think staying safe is still very, very important. So yeah, thank you for that, Priya. I think I could tell you the story about Showman. I'm always glad to help in terms of anyone who can understand the impact, because we were driven with impact, not with everything else, the impact we were trying to create. So yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. Over to you.
Okay. From idea standpoint, it sounds very good, and the way you explained it, it sounds amazing. but building a OTT is a big deal. Uh, the way I understand is you have to build the technology, you have to build the ecosystem, both supplier side and buyer side. Now tell us, how did you or how are you executing it to compete with the bigger players?
Okay, so quick proco on that. So executing, not right now, but yeah, was executing. Okay. Because I mean, as I said, we got acquired by Instamojo, and they have the license to use the product as they want. I'll get back to that in a later perspective.
Sure.
So how did we start? Yes. So I think the one benefit we had was living in Bangalore. Now I'm not going to say, but I think it's a privilege that I could stay. I was in Bangalore, and being the Silicon Valley of India, we had access to amazing people who build amazing tech. Because again, as you mentioned, building an OTT slash a movie theater with has a lot of backend, lot of intense backend, and huge scalability factor. Because imagine, we had, so just to give you a rough metrics, we had a huge volume of users whom we had to cater to when they watch a movie. So imagine if tomorrow I sell a ticket for a movie, and let's assume 3 million people buy the ticket. My platform should be able to handle 3 million viewership in one go, because that is important. Without that, the system will fail, it'll crash, and if it crashes, the movie experience will be bad. And once that happens, people will not want to take up your product again, because again, I get it's cheap, but when you understand building for OTT platforms and building the space of entertainment, you have such bigger players in the industry who build such fabulous, excuse me, fabulous products that are great in design, in research, in their tech aspect and everything else. So we had to really work hard to understand what kind of designers. We had to focus on good designers who could design a well web product, good build a good distribution network systems and content distribution network. It's called CDN, content distribution network systems, because those were the key aspect of how we would survive. We also had to figure out how to build a ticketing platform, because yes, we could collaborate with Paytm, but when someone buys a ticket from Paytm, how would we know who is this user and what ticket did they buy? What is the user number? What are the details? How do they sign up on our platform, and make it simple? So, in terms of user, we kept it very simple, because our user were tier 3, tier 4 city people who didn't have a lot of technology awareness, right?
Mm.
So we had to keep it very simple, like probably a homepage with three or four movies. Select the movie you want to watch, put your ticket ID, sign up like a basic with OTP and number, and then watch the movie directly. So we, for the user, it was very simple, but the backend process was very complicated. So we did a lot of intense research. It took us around 7 to 8 months to figure out how do we build our MVP, how do we handle the scale, how do we get the ticketing up and running, what do we do, and everything else. So I hope that answers your questions. In case it doesn't, feel free to get back to me. I'll answer it more detail. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Sure, we'll get into more details. But can you highlight how are you or how did you plan to compete with bigger giants? Because whatever product you build, let's say it goes goes popular, so the Amazons of the world or the Netflix of the world, they can simply build a product similar to that, and they have a bigger audience, and they
Okay.
have the financial muscle to compete with you in any format.
Okay. Okay. One thing I would like to focus really, really much, and this is to every budding entrepreneur who's thinking to start a business. Competition is nice. Why? Because competition helps you validate your idea. It means that there's a demand in the idea, and what you're building is not very niche. First to market, yes, it's a good principle to have. It's a good thing to do. But if someone's trying to copy you, someone's trying to compete with you, that means you have captured a space that is validated, and people want to understand that you're making a good business. So I always see competition as a source of validation for me, that yes, what I'm doing makes sense, and whatever I'm trying to build for users is also makes sense. Like, yes, user gives you the one feedback about how you're trying to build and what you're trying to build. Competition gives the other feedback that people in the industry know that you're building something really, really, really worthwhile, and that's why they compete. Coming to the second aspect, you have to understand the major advantage of any startup is the ability to move fast. All these big companies, be it Amazon, be it Netflix, they have a core business, right? For them to change their core business and add another offering, they need to cater to a huge audience who, and they have to understand that how they might perceive this or not is a different agenda, right? So you as a startup has the best advantage to grow in that era and scale quicker and get a lot of users who are loyal to you. That's number one. Second, Even if they compete, it's okay. It's okay. I'll give you one example, Prime. You know about Snapchat and Instagram, right? I'm hope everybody knows about Snapchat and Instagram. If you do not, read the case study. So when Snapchat and Instagram started, Snapchat was one of the most, Snapchat is still one of the most innovative companies that have ever come up. They're such youth driven and they're such focused on ideas that they built some great tech innovations in this, so in the area of camera usage and social media. Now, when Instagram originally wanted to acquire, Facebook went to Spiegel and been like, hey, you know what, we want to acquire you. And Snapchat's co-founder said, no, I don't want to get acquired. I want to build this in my own way, because they didn't align with their vision.
Mm.
Yes. Now Facebook did copy of their major features like stories, be it filters, be it reels and everything else, which is originally a Snapchat filter, and then TikTok copied, and then it came to here as Instagram. Yes, they did copy. I'm not denying that factor. And yes, potential probably of Snapchat market size would have been less enough, but Snapchat is still a $1 billion company with a public evaluation. So they technically didn't lose out a lot. They just carved out their own niche and did what they were doing at very well. So it's okay. It's okay to have competition. It's okay to like worry about people competing with you. But if you are set out, the one quality that I've always told people who ever wanted to become an entrepreneur, two qualities really important. Be ready to fail. Very important. If you do not fail, you do not learn. I have personally vouched for it. I have failed multiple times before, and I'm glad every time I fail, I go to myself and say, congratulations, you have failed. That helps you to learn something new. The willingness to learn from your failure is the one key aspect of entrepreneurship. So if you fail, not a problem, but do go out competing, do believe in your vision, do not stick to your product. Like, products can change, but in your vision, whatever vision you want to create impact for, go for that. If your customers are giving you validation, if market is giving validation, I think it's about time you need to go for it. And yes, competition exists. Do not worry about it. They will be there. They have more financial backing, they have more tech, they have more resources. But the one advantage that you have over them is the speed that you can grow at. Tomorrow, if Netflix wants to probably copy me, they would require a 7 to 8 months of engineering team, and then figure out how to build it, how to market it, how to make it a separate service, because their agenda of core is a library. We are not a library. We are a movie theater. They are a OTT. OTT is a library. Now, from library to become a theater, they will have to see if their users do want this or not, because they can't just leave their original money-making business and get into something which might not make money, right? So yeah, that's the advantage you have. So I think I'll wrap up it quick. Competition is good. Go for it. Do not be scared of it. Go and build what you want to build, because ultimately, as founders, you are the person who's best known for the vision that you're trying to create. So yeah, I would recommend you to go for it. And competition is good. Competition is validation. So go for that validation. Thank you for that.
Okay. Speaking of competition and acquiring competitors, can you help me understand how did the acquisition of Showman happen? And let's start with why Instamojo acquired Showman, because I don't see them as a competitor, or they are not into movie or streaming business.
Yes, Priya. I mean, testing it before. There's certain details I can't release because of the contract. So whatever I can, I'll go with it. Does
Sure,
that work?
sure, absolutely.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Number one, InstaMojo acquired us to use our product. Okay. They wanted to use our product to build certain features for there. And they saw, instead of building it on their own, they wanted to move fast in the market. As I said, startups have the ability to move fast in the market. They wanted to move fast. So instead of building it up completely, they thought acquiring that feature or the product that they're trying to build from here to there will be very useful for them. So that's number one. That's how they really, that's the value proposition of the acquisition. And they also, and one of the things that we both contribute towards each other is, we were trying to get into the space of the next billion users, right? The small
Mm.
space where SMEs and smaller business not come from cities, but they come from tier 3, tier 4 cities, who do not have the awareness of building a tech platform, right? So that is their us and their vision that collided a lot, where we were trying to build for India to the next billion users. So I think that is the core value proposition alongside the product that we really resonated with, and that's where we were acquired, and we are working with them now to build that. Is I think what we are doing right now.
Okay, fair
Oh,
enough.
just to give you a quick understanding, Instammer doesn't own the IP of Showman. It's still with us, so they don't own the IP. They have just licensed the product because they want to use it for certain features.
Okay, fair enough. Uh,
Okay,
Now,
good.
Now tell us a little bit about the building phase of Showman. Like, how did you find the team, and what was the product like initially? How did the MVP look like? How many users did you
Okay.
gather? Anything about it?
Yeah. So as much as I release, I can details. I will create to release the
Sure,
details to you. Users, I really can't because that's under contract. I'm so sorry for that. But rest everything else, I can give you a metric to understand what
yep,
we are. So
sure.
uh, I think this is my one of my favorite parts of building a startup is the phase where you actually gather like-minded people, innovate with them, and build something amazing. I think that's the most favorite part of for me because I've also worked in like previously also been a part of few other founding teams, so I like always been involved with them, so I love this phase. So yeah, number one aspect, one thing I'll proudly say, I have failed multiple times while building this, multiple times. So what you see the end product is an accumulation of lot of failures that have happened over time. So that's about number one point. But yeah, I think me and my co-founder, we are roommates, so we triedly gelled with each other very well, and that's how we jumped into the wagon of building something. And we both really like to create a lot of impact, and we want to build consumer tech products for India. So that was number one. Second, how did we gather people? How do we build a team? Now, I think team building is one of the most essential skill sets of any entrepreneur because the first, let me let me just tell you, if you are someone who's just starting up or who's already started up and hiring for teams, your first 100 employees are your key aspect of who you are. They are the people which make slash break your entire team or your entire startup. So when you hire them, yes, they might have the skill set, very important, but more important skill set, understand their culture, their are they culture fit? Do you and them resonate in terms of values, in terms of what you're building, in terms of what you want to do? Because that is more important than anything else. Skill set you might find. Um Money, if you like, assume if you have funding, great. If you don't have funding, not a problem. Bootstrap, either way, whatever you do, you can always find skill. What you will have to be very careful is to find the relevant people with the actual culture. And this is something I faced problem too. Like I did face a problem where we did hire someone because we believed his skill set would have been very complementary to us, but then we didn't gel up with them, and that happens. That is very pro. That's very pro and co in understanding building a startup. You might not gel up, and you might, and it's so probably simple. If you're hiring for a co-founder, if you're looking for a co-founder, it's probably it's like a relationship. Go out on dates, go out on coffees, go out on things that you can do. Understand the person before you onboard them as a co-founder. Very important. In terms of team, founding team slash your hires and employees, understand the reason, how do they align to your vision, and how can you provide them whatever they want to grow in life to become. Because if you can do these aspects, I think you can have a great fabulous team to grow. Speaking about our team, we didn't have a lot of team members. We had like around 4 5 full-timers, 7 8 part-timers, and a team of probably around 30 interns. So yeah, we built it very lean from a perspective of building our entire startup ecosystem. So yeah, that's about from my end. Regarding the users, we had a good growth metric where we compounded a growth of 76% month on month growth every month for around 9 to 10 months. So yeah, that's about it from my end. I hope that provides some value to all your people and everybody. Priya, I think you're mute. Check it out.
Okay. So I think that was enough detail. Uh, Tell us about the challenges that you have faced so far while building and growing the venture.
Okay. Challenges. So, okay, this is something I'm going to give all of you some tough love. So, number one challenge is financial strain. Understand that if you are not in a financial capacity to hold yourself, or have someone who can support you, be it parents, be it family members, be it anyone, support you in initial journey, or you have savings. Like again, savings is also financial strain, right? If you do not have these aspects, I think entrepreneurship should take a break, build up your reserves, because as much as you want to jump in the wagon, it's interesting. It's very exciting to build something that way. The number one problem that I've always seen people have a issue is financial strain, because that is something very personal. It will take a mental toll on you, and if you are in that zone where you're thinking about strain of this sort, you would not be able to dedicate to your team. and whether your product. So number one, financial metrics are really important. I'm not about funding. I'm not about anything else. I'm talking about clearly in terms of personal financials, right? Second, staying motivated and the resilience to build something is very important, because entrepreneurship is not everyone's cup of tea. It's not an easy task. I will repeat, it's not easy task. It requires a lot of resilience. It requires a lot of will to understand and go forward with it. One thing I would like to correct: when I say resilience, I do not mean never give up. Never give up is something I don't believe in, but I would say, and go with the vision, be resilient with the conscious of mind. Like, understand when is the right time to pivot, understand when is the right time to move on, understand when is the right time to, accept that this is not working, because that's very important. That is one of the core features of understanding entrepreneurship 101. Because without that, you get, sometimes I've seen founders, because I do consult with a lot of founders myself and startups in the space of consumer tech. Sometimes they get so invested with their love for their idea and their love for the product that they do not believe that it will not work, and that is wrong. You should always listen to their market, your customers, your validation from other people, that if what you're doing makes sense or not. Because if people don't believe it's a problem, they will not take it up to their like, they will not pay for it. And if you do not get consumer money, you do not have a way to scale up. That's the core business. So understand, impact is important. Yes, I do believe impact is something that drives you forward, but understand that you're in the business of making a business, and number one factor of business is making profitability and sustainability. Never let that go. So yeah, I think that's something I would like to contribute here, Priya. Thank you for that.
Okay. Um, Almost up with the time. Just two more questions. Tell us, why did you want to become an
Sure,
entrepreneur
sure.
in the first place? What was the motivation behind becoming an entrepreneur?
Okay. So this is something I convinced my father also. This is this very funny story. I think my highlight of my moment is to convince my father that I wanted to start something of my own. So my dad was the army, right? I told you he's in defense. So how I started is, I always loved two things in aspect. I loved creating a lot of impact. I wanted to build something which create impact in people's life, because rather than anything else, that impact to create in people's life is what makes people know about you. It's called legacy building, and I wanted to do that. I wanted to build something which created an impact for people's life and changed people, or made something which had made people more comfortable. Like how you see today, we have Swiggy, Zomato. It has made our life comfortable. That tomorrow, if even the founders are not there, you will always remember Swiggy and Zomato because it made your life comfortable, right? That's called
Right.
creating impact. I was always very pro on that, creating impact. Number one. Second, I've always believed entrepreneurship to be a way for me to help a lot of families. I'll tell you how. When you start a business, you create jobs. When you create jobs, you create people who can apply for the jobs, and who can probably do something that they are not happy in something they do, but are happy here. And when people are happy, people do amazing things. And so giving an opportunity to create jobs and make people happy gives their families the one thing that they want: support families. And that's, I think, something I really wanted to do. The two major reasons I got into entrepreneurship is to create impact for the customers and create impact for my employees in terms of creating job opportunities for people to capitalize on that and do what they really love. Because I am doing what I really love, and I think everybody should do what they really love. Yes, I mean, it's a very big notion. I'm not telling you to like follow ultimately directly, leave everything aside. There are a lot of pros and cons in it also. So I think you are the best judge for that. But yeah, that is the my main understanding of me becoming personal understanding of me becoming an entrepreneur. And that's how I convinced my father. Like, I told him, like, how you as a defense/army person create so much impact in people's life. I want to do that to people too. And that's the way I convinced my father to get into entrepreneurship. And I think that's my biggest achievement rather than anything else, convincing my father to make him understand that I'm going to a risk making business because I want to create impact. So yeah, thank you for that. I hope I answered your question, Priya.
Absolutely. Final question. Tell us, what do
Sure.
you understand by the term entrepreneurship? What is the meaning of entrepreneurship? How do you define it?
So as I mentioned, for me, entrepreneurship is anyone who's taking a risk, a huge amount of financial risk, to solve a bigger problem. For me, that's entrepreneurship in a quote. Like, anyone who's taking a financial risk, because if you are not taking a financial risk, probably you have the privilege of doing an entrepreneur running a business, and that's good. That's, I'm not saying that's bad. For me, some, but because I think challenge comes with the perspective of you being yourself challenged, and that only comes where you are not in a place of privilege, when you are pushed outside your comfort zone. So taking a huge financial risk and creating a huge solving a huge problem, not a huge, any problem, be it small, but solving a problem is what I define entrepreneur or entrepreneurship as in general. Thank you for that.
Okay. Well, I must say it was a pleasure to host you. Thanks for your time, Rutviz, and our best wishes for you.
It's a pleasure to be here. I am always glad to, it's always been my dream to get back to community, the startup community, as much as I can, because I've taken a lot. I have had good mentors in my lifetime. So I really want to give back to the community. I really want to be I help anyone I can. So yeah, that's from my end, and I really am glad we could do this. So thank you for having me here. It was a pleasure to talk to you, Priya.
Likewise.